Upgrades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review brought to you from the Toronto Film Festival. Now, this film here, it's an old saying that if you don't have nothing nice to say nothing at all. But because it's a review, we have to at least talk about this film. The name of this film is Poolman, and here's a quick synopsis. A pool cleaner in Los Angeles uncovers a sizable water heist, one in the same vein as Chinatown. And this is directed and starring Chris Pine. It also stars Annette and Danny DeVito, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and DeWanda Wise. With that cast behind this film, it was no way I could have went into it expecting this to be the worst film of the Toronto Film Festival. But this is as close to the worst film of the Toronto Film Festival as you can get without possibly being the worst film of the Toronto Film Festival. As the film opens up, we're introduced to Darren, who's played by Chris Pine, as he's just cleaning the pool. As he's cleaning the pool, then we get to see him with his girlfriend, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. And then amazingly, we get thrust into a water heist film out of nowhere. None of it makes any sense. I don't even know if it's enough to really explain to the audience why it doesn't make sense. But the entire story of this bumbling idiot, because that's the way they play Darren in this film, of him going around trying to find out what's going on with his water heist, while his parents, played by Annette and Danny DeVito, his father is trying to shoot this documentary for some weird reason that is supposed to catapult him to a film career at the same time. And then we get DeWanda Wise, who comes into his life as his girlfriend leaves him. We think it possibly is another love interest, but instead she brings this mysterious case to him that Annette Bening's character in the film literally asks, why would she bring the case to you and not the police? And as an audience, you're stuck wondering that for the next hour and 30 plus minutes. This movie is, it's you attempt to say something positive about every film you see, because in the perfect form of duality, you know, a thing can be bad, but it can still have good elements in it. Here with the Poolman, it just felt the entire time watching it that this couldn't be a real movie. As I'm sitting through watching this film, all I kept on thinking was, there's no way, like this, it's got to be a joke somewhere in here that is here to trick the audiences thinking that this is a real movie. And as the film goes on, and we get more and more references to Chinatown, which, to reference, one of the greatest films ever made. If you are not going to live up properly to that film, you're going to get trashed for it. And that's part of the issue here, is that this film is not good. And it constantly brings up a great film, which gives you, as an audience, a comparison immediately. And that's not a good comparison. That's not a comparison even great movies should want to stand on, let alone one that feels so incomplete. Here with this film, I don't know if it was supposed to be shot bad at times, because it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be mixed bad at times, because it is. It's certain scenes where things just feel out of place. It's a scene with DeWanda where she is displaying emotion. And in one scene, we see the tear go down her face. We pan to Chris Pine, pan back to her, and there's no tears. Then we pan back to Chris Pine and pan back to her again, and there's tears. And I'm like, like I'm stuck in here watching it thinking, well, maybe in the end we get a huge twist on what we're seeing here. And that could really drive home the point of this. But that's not the case. This is a film that doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be this bubbling comedy that's a goofball type of comedy play on Chinatown, or if it really wants to be a serious movie, because it does both. But neither story is good enough for it to do both. And it's so perplexing. I'm still attempting, even days after watching this film, I am still attempting to find, well, maybe I missed something. It's one of those films where you watch and you say, maybe I missed something. Maybe it's something that I didn't catch that makes this film actually make sense. But so far, I can't think of anything that makes this film make any sense. This is just not a good film. And I am surprised with the talent behind the camera, because Patty Jenkins is also a producer on this project, and definitely in front of the camera, that this film even got made. I don't know who saw this and thought, this is a good idea, because it wasn't. It's no element of this film that makes sense. And even if you're trying to find something amazingly positive to say about it, it is humanly possible to find that. It's the third act. By the time you get to the third act, as you struggle through the first two acts, and you're thinking, okay, at least there'll be a big reveal in the third act, and it will bring everything together. As you get to the third act, as you get to some of the final scenes here, I was still waiting to be surprised by something. And by the time the end credits rolled, and I realized, oh no, this is seriously this movie. It just completely threw me off, and I am just perplexed again how or why this movie was made. But the Poolman put to you from the Toronto Film Festival, out of a possible 10, I'm going to give Poolman a 0 out of 10. There's nothing redeeming in this movie. Again, I'm confused why this movie was made. I don't necessarily know if this movie has been picked up for distribution. If it has, I feel bad for the people that picked it up, because I don't know the audience that you could pinpoint this movie to. That's the key part. Again, it may not be the worst film of this film festival, but it definitely feels like the most pointless one, or close to being the most pointless one, because there's no audience that you could pinpoint this film for, because it's just it tries to be a screwball comedy, but then it also tries to be a very serious crime noir type of film, and neither one of those elements work here, and none of the people in the film are believable. I did not believe Chris Pine. I did not believe DeWanda. I did not believe Annette. I did not believe Danny. Like, none of these characters are believable. And because they're not believable and they're not selling the audience on this, I don't see how anybody would want to sit through this again. I'm definitely not sitting through this again. But if it comes out, let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review brought to you from the Toronto Film Festival. Peace, people.